evening, folks. This is the Factivist report for Sunday, August 14th, 2022. And we're going to be talking a little bit tonight about despots and total control of an entire fucking state by Ron DeSantis. And I'm going to turn this over to Dave.
I understand that this is the second time we've done DeSantis. He's important enough to understand, and he is completely getting his tentacles into the education system of this state and into the information. It's all about information dissemination. This is all about creating that fascist system where you eventually cannot dispute the government. So I'm going to, I'm going to go through this entire thing. Personally, number one, a lot of this stuff gave me a headache. I can't believe we are where we are right now with some of these states. Abbott is another horrid one, and there are some other ones that are just absolutely wretched. We'll get into attorney generals suing to allow states to deny free lunches to LGBT kids. And Biden had an interesting response to that one, but we'll get into that. But it's mind-blowing to me. It really is. So let's get started. First off, like a lot of GOP candidates, Ron DeSantis is hitching his wagon to Trump. However, he's doing things that a lot of political analysts are saying will put him in the forefront, especially if Trump doesn't run or if he loses early in the primary to run for president. He is campaigning alongside Trump to endorse candidates such as Mastriano, Kerry Lake, and some of these candidates that are in really hotly contested states, like those states that have less than 3% in terms of who's going to win and who's going to lose. Most polls have like a plus and negative 3% or 4% discrepancy. They're looking to use DeSantis for that. So Governor DeSantis is a unique public figure who has the ability to appeal to, I would say, right-wing independents and rally support on the margins. These races are going to be won by 1 to 3%. His appeal is strong enough that he can deliver. Now, this is a right-wing Turning Point USA, a spokesman for that group, COVID. So just know this. This is an article from Reuters, from the Reuters staff, on August 8th. So I put this in because Ron DeSantis is treating school board candidates as important as gubernatorial candidates in some ways. He is looking to implant his school board candidates, even though the school board is considered nonpartisan, he doesn't care. He wants people in that that are like him and that have right-wing agendas, exactly like what Donald Trump did with the court system. Correct. He is spending his own campaign money, and I don't know if you can even do this. He's spending his campaign money to help preferred down ballot candidates, school board candidates. Okay. I just put Abbott is another person who is doing the parental bill of rights. He's looking to, amend the Texas Constitution. So obviously, DeSantis is not the only one doing this, but he will be leading the pack in terms of this because he's seen alongside the president endorsing Trump-backed candidates. And he's gaining a lot of traction, DeSantis. There is a poll, and I don't take much stock in a lot of polls, but this is saying that DeSantis's education message is garnering a lot of attention and a lot of people are latching onto it. And I would agree with that. Now, saying that it's winning in battleground states, I don't know about all that, but I do know that it is getting a lot of attention.
Well, that's, if you consider Florida a battleground state, which I no longer do.
Right.
I used to think it was a
It's not
a battleground state. It is now, he really is the closest thing to a dictator that we have. And he's taking authoritarian rule for a test drive in Florida. There's no question about it.
Right. Now, in his mind, this is Moms for Liberty, by the way, before a friendly audience. I would dispute that, but whatever. Before a friendly audience of conservative moms, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis on Friday excoriated political opponents from wanting to sexualize children and warp kids' understanding of race and history. And by the way, kids in third grade or less are not thinking about sex.
And no one's teaching sex either.
And nobody's teaching
absolute
sex.
Fucking crap. It's absolute crap. And warping kids' understanding of race and history amounts to basically lying to your children about America's history. That's really what it amounts to.
I'll get into it, but one teacher, my opinion is he was basically forced to resign. He was setting up his classroom for a small inclusion class of autistic kids. And two people from the school district just started ripping down his bulletin board, saying that it wasn't age appropriate.
He was showing black leaders, right?
Yes, he was showing Harriet Tubman, Barack Obama, George Washington Carver, and Martin Luther King.
By the way, let me just say this. All of this move here, all of this whole thing, which is now, been unleashed by essentially Donald Trump's presidency. All of this began because we had the audacity to elect a black man as president. That's where all of this bullshit really started ramping up, was right around that time.
Yep. Now you have to understand too that now schools starting for teachers. I understand that the school year hasn't started for the students yet, but the teachers have to get their lesson plans ready, get everything together, get their bulletin boards up, plan for where the seating charts and all that kind of stuff. Florida students return to schools reshaped by Governor DeSantis' anti-woke education agenda.
Yeah, we're gonna fucking talk about that tomorrow too.
So, as instruction, and this is an article by Steve Contorno, on August 13th of this year. So, as instruction began, I guess they start in August now. And as instruction began in most of Florida this past week, there are other changes that make Lee anxious about the new school year. Contentious laws went into effect during the summer recess that restrict how schools teach topics linked to race and sexual orientation. So math textbooks have been culled for traces of critical race theory. Schools for the first time will have to observe Victims of Communism Day.
Mother of fucking God.
During which high schoolers will be taught anti-communism lessons.
I'm so fucking glad my kids are done with school. I really am.
Now, this is about the not teaching kids, not having lessons about gender identity for K to 3. And again, we've
When
been
did we ever have that?
we never had that. And I put lesson plan. I didn't do it this time, but I put the curriculum, the state standards up. All the state standards do from K to 3 is talk about self-identity, self-awareness, self-identity, anti-bullying, respect and dignity, and that kind of thing.
But
Now, there are.
Everybody should understand that the great governor here has also stopped running anti-bullying videos. He has taken.
Right.
So it's basically Governor DeSantis is saying to the students of bigoted families, and they do exist because that's where kids learn that shit. He's basically declaring open season for bullies now. This is
Right.
just the way it goes.
Now, there's some things out there that DeSantis knows where to kind of draw the line. I don't know if that's the case, but people have made that argument where, he doesn't want to go too far because he doesn't want to anger people too much.
Right.
Really? Okay. Well, but here's where, that law, that instruction law is called the Don't Say Gay bill, or it's been nicknamed that. And a Florida school district now says that LGBTQ teachers can put photos on their desk of their partners and talk about them in class, as DeSantis's restrictions on teaching cause confusion. Now, look, I don't know how many of you know this, but I do have a master's of education. I did try to get into education, and back then, it was 2011, 2012. It was tough enough then. Now, no way. No way would I be doing this. You are so pressed for time in the classroom that these kinds of conversations, you might have an off the cuff conversation with a kid, but they're considered teaching moments, and anybody can turn around and say, "Oh, you incorporated that in your lesson. That's not allowed." It's too much.
By the way, let me just say this because you folks have seen her before. Maria Skiffington, who also happens to be my niece and who also has a master's of education, has just quit from the teaching profession permanently. So she will not be back in the classroom. She's done.
And from what I remember, she cited her reason as feeling disrespected. And that's a big reason. That's a huge reason why she's out of Massachusetts. Was she out of Massachusetts?
Yep.
So the Florida teachers, you have over 9,500 vacancies in Florida right now. And a lot of them saying they're not paid enough, and they're not valued enough, and they're not respected. And I wonder why. One school district clarified guidance saying it's okay for teachers to talk about their same-sex partners.
Well, hey, that's mighty white of them, isn't it?
Yeah, isn't it? Now, they can't wear certain politicized shirts. My understanding is you couldn't do that anyway.
It's not anything that anybody really does.
Right.
Teachers, generally speaking, don't wear fucking gay T-shirts to school, okay?
Or shirts promoting a certain, political candidate or any of that kind of thing. They don't. They might. When I was in that setting, you might have teachers wearing union shirts on one particular day, if it's allowed.
Yeah, whatever.
But again, remember, certain materials aren't allowed in libraries and classrooms, such as Everywhere Babies, which was a banned book in Florida because it had a picture of not only multicultural babies, but two women pushing a baby carriage. God help us.
And again, it could have been two sisters, two friends, two neighbors.
Right.
What the fuck? I mean, seriously.
You are the one sexualizing this.
Right.
Not the kids. I have never seen, the only time I really saw something like that was in third grade when there was a nature video and there were two squirrels going at it or whatever. And they're like, oh, that must be sex or whatever. It's like their brains aren't wired for that. They're not thinking about that. So here we're going to get into the real nitty-gritty, dirty part of this. Deb has been talking about attorney generals in several states that are pushing, saying that it's a states' right issue to discriminate against LGBT kids, and not give them free school lunches based on their identity.
So let me just repeat. 22 states want to deny gay and transgender students lunch. Let me repeat that again. They're actually suing for the right to discriminate. They're actually asking to make discrimination fucking legal in this country. Okay? I am just, I got to tell you, if the gay community isn't out there voting, they deserve what they get. That's all I'm going to say.
And Ann Gegas, she wrote a couple of these articles in a I guess it's a e-blog, or I don't know. It's called Florida Politics. Pretty good, actually. She's talking about the State Department of Agriculture. Basically, Nikki Fried, who is actually running for governor of Florida, is being sued over requirement to post discrimination statement that includes gender identity and sexual orientation as federally supported school lunch sites. So what this is basically saying, someone in the Florida government, and I'll say it, that for now it's not DeSantis, but trust me, he'll get there. School lunches could be the next battleground for state officials' quarrel with the federal guidelines that add gender identity and sexual orientation to the list of classes protected from discrimination. This is a national program from the Department of Agriculture trying to feed kids, okay, coming up with a new poster announcing that the institution where the poster hangs complies with civil rights regulation, includes gender identity and sexual orientation. Florida's trying to say that those either don't exist or shouldn't exist as civil rights. I mean, for God's sake.
That should piss off the gay and lesbian and transgender community. I mean it. I just, I'm gay, okay? Here's the bottom line. They might think they can legislate us away, but we need to prove to them that they can't, all right? I'm just saying.
One side says that all that needs to be done is to hang the poster. Others, including state officials, argue it amounts to so much more. It's a sign of the federal government's radical gender ideology.
Stop it. Just fucking stop it.
And agreeing to hang the poster could mean participating institutions could be sued for not having sex-specific bathrooms or uniforms, or using pronouns that correspond to biological sex.
Cut it out.
So, as I said, Nikki Fried is the agricultural commissioner right now. She she's fresh from being slapped with a lawsuit over these new federal guidelines because of her role overseeing the state's participation in the federal lunch program. She decried a new law for state administration officials and raised the specter that schools could lose their federal lunch money if they buy into this misreading of the new poster and don't hang it up. As an educational commissioner, Manny Diaz is politicizing school lunch programs and jeopardizing the safety and well-being of Florida students, she said at a news conference Friday, and all because of a poster. That's more than that. The poster represents non-discrimination laws. And I believe it was the press secretary for DeSantis is yelling about Biden. We'll get there in a minute, but this is about kids. This is about feeding kids. Okay, so this is where this pretty much all started. You had attorney generals, GOP-controlled states sue over LGBT inclusive policy to get school lunch funds. For God's sake. I mean, Indiana Attorney General Todd Rokita, and I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know if these attorney generals are up for re-election. Find out in your state if they are and vote the motherfuckers out. To quote Beto O'Rourke, Indiana Attorney General Todd Rokita and Tennessee Attorney General Herbert Slattery led the lawsuit, arguing that the guidelines are unlawful in part because they're based on a misapplication of U.S. Supreme Court precedents. They're basically saying that this is a states' rights issue. No.
You know what? First of all, these are kids that go to school. They're going to be gay, whether you will them to be gay or not. Okay? They're going to have straight friends, whether you want them to have straight friends or not. These are kids. Okay? If you don't train kids to be bigots, they don't see color, they don't see race, they don't see gender identity as a problem. Okay? The adults are making this fucking problem, and they are making it for political reasons. Okay? They are making it for political reasons because they have donors who are Christian nationalists who want to be paid off now. And that's what this essentially amounts to.
So we have 22 states, and this isn't including Florida, but basically it's 23 states because Florida is part of this, whether they like to say it or not.
Right.
Tennessee, Indiana, Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, Georgia, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Texas, Utah, Virginia, and West Virginia. And every single one of these states, Ohio, Georgia, I think we can turn those around pretty quickly. Some of these others, it's going to take some time because they're a bunch of bigots. Arizona's a shit show right now. So Utah, forget Oklahoma's in there.
Where's shitbag running?
Which one? Who?
Oz.
That's Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Are they in here?
No, they're not.
Good.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture, named as a defendant in the suit, announced that in May that K through 12 schools and other qualifying organizations would need to update their policies to include LGBT protections in order to receive funding from the Food and Nutrition Service. The rule is a part of a Biden administration initiative to combat discrimination against LGBT students. So
I'm going to say this because you know what? I've been around and I've been following the GOP for a very long time. At one time, none of this was an issue. Okay?
Yeah. Democrats poised to pull free lunches from Christian school that refuses to obey LGBT mandates, which is what they just said. Now, this is from the Washington Free Beacon. Okay. it basically means that these schools are going to have to pay for this themselves.
Lifestyle.
So I'm
They got
I'm
plenty
just
of money.
saying, yeah, you know what? They're not playing around. The Biden administration isn't playing around with this kind of stuff.
Right. And by the way, if they were really Christians, they wouldn't be discriminating. Okay.
So again, this is Ann Gegas. Ron DeSantis's campaign says that the Joe Biden administration continues to lie about the Don't Say Gay law, a law that more tightly regulates discussion of gender identity and sexual orientation in classrooms, which has never happened in the 8 years that I was involved. I have never seen this. So in a liberal state like New York, so I don't know where these are coming from. Went into effect Friday, producing another.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
making shit up.
Right. So it's the parental rights and education law,
Blah, blah, blah.
HB 1557. Prohibits discussions of gender identity and sexual orientation that are not age appropriate.
You don't even need that law. It's a wasted law. It's a law put in there for political purposes. It's an unnecessary fucking law.
Here is the problem with this too. The people who are determining what is age appropriate are the people who are making the laws.
Right.
So they can make it up as they go along.
Right.
Laws already spawned a lawsuit from advocacy groups who argue the law was discriminatory and the product of an animus toward the state's LGBTQ community. Also prompted Republicans to return their donations from Disney after the media giant said it would work to reverse the law. And DeSantis is doing everything he possibly can to enact adverse actions against Disney.
DeSantis better watch it, because you know what? There's an awful lot of tourists that go to Disney World.
Yep.
The best thing you could do is break his fucking state financially. Stop going.
Or advocate for them to move to California, where we have Gavin Newsom, who has the most inclusive school lunch program
in the country. He just announced free lunches for every student in the state of California.
So now the Department of Education, the U.S. Secretary of Education have issued a BOLO, be on the lookout, for civil rights violations in Florida schools resulting from the new law. So White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, and don't underestimate her. I've seen her.
I've seen her too. She's good. She's okay.
She's good. She'll grow into the role. I understand that her predecessor was considered the best of all time, but Karine's good. Pierre cited reports that teachers were being told not to dress in rainbow colors, to scrape off safe space classroom stickers, and to take down any family photos with husbands as wives. Now, remember, we have one, I believe it was Orange County that I just said, it's okay to do it. Then you go to another county. No, it's not okay. It's not a consistent rule.
Right. Well, it is actually a fact that they're taking these safe space classroom stickers down.
Yeah.
That is actually a fact. So basically, it's not safe for your LGBTQ student anymore in that classroom.
So this is not, DeSantis isn't trying to affect just elementary schools or the K through 12 system, rather. He signed a bill to reform higher education in Florida. Now, this is in regards to evaluation of professors, hiring of professors. He wants to take the hiring power away from deans and give them to the state government. And this also has to do with accreditation of colleges and who accredits them, and that process. The government is getting too involved in this.
They like small government, though. Remember that.
Yeah, remember that.
Remember that lie when you hear that one next.
Florida University professors, I want to credit this story at Anna Wilder from the Miami Herald.
Excellent.
Professors in Florida feeling the chill from DeSantis education legislation. You have professors leaving because of this, moving to other states. Florida University professors are facing unprecedented challenges as a spate of new laws could soon crack down on research, discourse on race and gender identity, and create an environment in which employees feel their political beliefs are being scrutinized at the risk of losing tenure. Now, DeSantis has also talked about the Stop Woke Act, which is supposed to encourage discourse with different ideas. Basically, he wants, his hateful ideas to be part of it and eventually overtake the radical liberal agenda.
What will be part of the Stop Woke Act? Will we be able to tell the other side of the Holocaust? Is that part of it? Because that's what it is in some states.
That's what it is. Yeah, no, that is what it is.
There is no other side to the fucking Holocaust, okay?
That's what it is. The
Right.
other side of the Holocaust, what the slave owners were thinking.
Right.
That kind of crap. It's
The
like, really?
slave owners were thinking. Yeah, I'll tell you what they were thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
fucking A.
here's what their viewpoint of, inclusion of ideas is. I don't know if you guys heard about this teacher. This is an article by Emily's Brownstein from August 12th of this year. A teacher quits after he says posters of Black leaders were taken down at a Florida school. He was setting up his bulletin board, and you had two state education workers. I don't know what their official, I don't remember their official titles. He was getting ready for his first day, and this was an inclusion class for autistic kids, and it would be his 15th year teaching students with disabilities. These two district employees, one a behavioral analyst and another a behavior coach, entered his classroom to help him prepare for students. They were just taking his bulletin board down, saying it wasn't age appropriate, and they weren't going to be able to get it. This man's been teaching for 15 years. He knows how to teach autistic kids.
Fucking kidding me. What was the grade of this classroom?
I'm trying to remember. Let's see if I can find it. I looked for that before. Well, I'm thinking it's an elementary class because they're talking about replacing it with alphabet charts.
Jesus Christ. Okay, great.
Well, or maybe it's like 3rd to 5th grade because you're talking about potentially severely autistic kids. So I don't know. I'm not sure. The district employees were both astounded by James's account, saying that he agreed to the changes.
Of course they did.
I was looking. They didn't specify the grade, which I thought was weird.
All I know is this. You know what? It's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, it's an elementary school.
Yeah, it's okay. What?
So you would think third, 4th grade.
I learned about those guys in elementary school.
Right.
I went to a Catholic school and I learned about them.
Oh, but it's above their head.
Yeah, right.
He was showing pictures. He's saying these were important people.
Never underestimate the GOP. They want a stupid population for the future. They absolutely do. They want you dumbed down and small-minded, just like
Right. Okay, so this is that higher education bill we were talking about. This is just a synopsis. The post-secondary education bill, authorizing the Board of Governors to adopt a regulation regarding post-tenure reviews for state university faculty. Again, look, every single bill that I see giving more power to state government,
Right.
revising the maintenance requirements and information that must be included in the statewide course numbering system regarding the Board of Governors and State Board of Education to identify and determine accrediting agencies or associations best suited for public post-secondary institutions by a specific date. So again, this is a states' rights issue. You're taking all of the national oversight requiring Florida college system institutions and state universities respectively to post specified information relating to tuition and fee rates and propose changes to such rates. I don't have a problem with that, actually, but it's more, you're just strengthening the state power. So, as I said, a lot of teachers have been leaving Florida. Don't worry, because he's going to get DeSantis is encouraging veterans to apply for temporary teaching certificates. What are their qualifications? Now, Deb and I looked for a couple of more. I had an article in here, but I wanted to clarify this. Other states do have laws that allow veteran exceptions, but they have to have a master's degree and they have to have it in a specific subject, and that's the subject they're going to teach. Here, I don't want to say you are drastically lowering the requirements. So you're lowering the bar, as someone brought it, number one. Number two, I remember back in the 90s when I first joined the Postal Service. If everybody remembers the going postal stuff, that was veterans that joined the Postal Service. The Postal Service, those jobs are very rote, they're repetitive. Teaching is a very high stress position. You have to deal with kids, you have to deal with administrators, you have to deal with other teachers, you have to deal with the parents, you have to deal with the curriculum, you have to deal with coronavirus, you have to deal with those issues, you have to deal with health issues, you have to deal with politics, you have to deal with school boards, superintendents. Some people can handle it, some people can't. I don't think that it's appropriate to say that someone is not qualified just because they're veterans, but I also don't think that you should say they are just because they're veterans. They defended our country, and hey, the kids say the Pledge of Allegiance every day, so why not give the teaching jobs to a veteran who have not been trained whatsoever?
A skill.
It's a skilled position. Yeah, absolutely.
Look, it's the reason why they have fucking degrees in that profession. Okay. Basically, he's just saying veterans defend our country. You can teach without a degree. You know what? I'm telling you, this is a recipe for disaster. It absolutely is.
Now, at first I thought, oh my God, he's militarizing the education system. In a way he is. Also, you have to think that it's very possible that veterans have this mindset where they respect authority and they will listen to authority and they will follow that authority. So, that's another thing.
Is anyone taking into consideration that some of these people may have PTSD? Anyone taking into consideration any of that? Or is that infringing on their privacy? I'm
And
just
that's where I was getting at. All those postal employees, most of them were veterans that had PTSD. Okay. This is a story from Patch. This is from Dan Lawrence White, who's a Patch staff member, August 12th. Veterans in classrooms are not a solution to the Florida teacher shortage, say the critic. Now, there is a teacher shortage of about 9,500 teachers.
I can't imagine why. Maybe it's because he spent his entire fucking time during the pandemic taking them to court over mask mandates. There's a lot of shit that he did that disenfranchised a bunch of teachers there.
The two main reasons are, the crappy pay, number one, and the lack of respect shown to them, given the fact that they are in a skilled position. Many of them were tenured. Many of them had been teaching for many, many years. Many of them, like the individual I was just talking about, 15 years in the classroom, told that he was teaching wrong. So,
by a bunch of bureaucrats.
So there are, let's see, there's another article in here. This is the good one, actually, the really good one from the Gainesville Sun staff. This was a little earlier in the end of July of this year. 5 things to know about how military veterans in Florida can teach without certification. There are programs out there. So Florida requires veterans. What do they require now? Florida expanded teaching opportunities for military veterans in 2018, allowing them to waive initial certification to become classroom teachers for grades kindergarten through high school. Those teaching in grades 6 and above had to have an advanced degree, at least a master's in science, technology, engineering, or mathematics, and they were limited to teaching those subjects. Under the new law, which took effect the 1st of July, veterans don't need a college degree at all, and they aren't restricted to which subjects they may teach. All they need are 48 months of military service with an honorable or medical discharge, and they don't specify to what that medical discharge may be, or if it could potentially impair their teaching. At least 60 college credits with a 2.5 average out of 4 or above, which is basically what a C+ average. A passing score on one Florida subject area exam for bachelor level subjects, and a job in a Florida school district, including charter schools. Do other states let veterans teach without certifications? They offer financial incentives for veterans who want to become teachers, but none waive certification requirements like Florida does. Now, when I went for my master's, we had student teacher sessions, or like we basically student taught for at least 2 semesters in different school districts, and most students try to get positions as TAs or substitute teachers while they were doing this. These guys don't have to do any of that. They'll just throw them in there, which to me is insane. Does Florida extend the certification waiver to military spouses? They have. Waive certain fees for military spouses, such as the $75 fee per subject for an initial teacher certification, and the $75 fee to upgrade from a temporary to professional certificate. But they don't waive the requirement for a teacher's certificate for military spouses or family members.
Oh, that's mighty white of them.
This is the reason. The Florida Department of Education is proud to provide opportunities for members of the United States Armed Forces, veterans, and their spouses to become part of our team, working hand in hand to improve Florida's education system. That isn't too hard right now for students of all backgrounds and abilities. Really,
LGBTQ, Black, or any other minority that might be outside the realm of possibility.
or a child who's bullied, or a girl who's pregnant. Just saying. Florida's proud to host the fifth highest population of active duty personnel and reserve members in the military's 5 armed services, and that's over 1.5 million veterans that make Florida home. Florida Department of Education commits to recruitment of military personnel, veterans, and their spouses to continue their service by teaching and leading in Florida schools. Some of the reasons of the teacher shortages, low pay, reports over 500 vacancies as Florida faces its largest 95. I can't read it. And
okay, I'm really interested in seeing the one that we can't see.
I could have sworn they said, hold on.
District to pay substitute teachers more, allow high school grads to do the
Do
job.
the job. Yeah.
Teachers' aides. Is that what we're going to say? Is there a second line to that?
Hold on. Probably. Hold on. I think so. Nope. That's it. High school grads
can do substitute teaching.
And by the way, substitute teaching where? Are they going to teach in their own school?
I don't know.
They're going to teach your boyfriend. I'm just asking the question. That's recipe for disaster too. One of the things that that DeSantis said was that, and it's in this Fox article. I'm not going to go crazy with it, but actually that's another article. But somewhere in here, DeSantis made the comment that veterans, fight for our country. So, and the students take the pledge. So why not be taught by the people who fought for our country?
Yeah.
Well, they're not qualified, maybe. I just, there are reasons why you need certification. There are reasons why you need, and another comment that I saw DeSantis make was that the qualifications are too rigid and they're not needed. Really, where's your data to prove that? Oh yeah, I forgot. We don't need that anymore. All right. I put this in here. This is kind of off topic, but this is kind of an extension to what I was talking about last week. This is about corporations. And by the way, to all those libertarians out there, that argument goes both ways. If a corporation wants to put in a policy, an environmentally friendly policy or an inclusive policy, it's their right to do it. Okay? Goes both ways, libertarians. So, hold on, it's freezing up on me. I was doing so well too.
Sure, we're almost at the end.
I'm trying to remember what ESG stands for. It's basically politically responsible action. So why in God's name would you want to promote that? Because it's quote unquote a leftist corporate attempt to control how people live. So the last resource that I have in here is just talking about how there is a policy where parents can opt in or opt out of sex education if there are sex education programs in there. So all of this talk about, radicalizing and sexualizing elementary schools, is a load of crap.
By the way, my kids received sex ed, both of them.
Right.
And there's also a new study out there that was done about transgender kids, and they don't get their, I'm not going to call it ideology, but they don't develop their mindset based on what they're taught. Kids become aware that they're transgender based on what they're thinking, not what other people are telling them to think. So let me just, before I close this, and I am going to close it because I need to go cook dinner.
Okay.
But I want to read these 5 little bullets. This is from a thing called.
Oh, Deb, before I want to,
What?
I just wanted to, these guys can read it themselves, but it's called Environmental, Social, and Government Standards.
Right.
It's just, as I said, environmentally sound and just responsible actions that businesses can take. So that's all I wanted to say.
Okay.
I wanted to say what it stood for.
This is from a thing called Rethinking Schools.
Yep.
And this is about why the Republican Party wants to privatize education. Number one, education is a multi-billion-dollar market, and the private sector is eager to get its hands on those dollars.
Yep.
2, conservatives are devoted to the free market and believe that private is inherently superior to public. 3, shrinking public education furthers the Republican Party goal of drastically reducing the public sector.
Yep.
4, privatization undermines teachers' unions, a key base of support for the Democratic Party. 5, privatization rhetoric can be used to woo African American and Latino voters to the Republican Party. Don't ever think that they are doing this because of the kids. They are not. They are not, and they never have. Okay? They never have. So I am going to stop.
Hold on. I have to stop sharing, I think. Right?
Yep.
All right.
Although I could just, say no.
Oh, come on. Do it.
All right. So it says you are viewing India. Oh, there we go. All right, kids. So here we are. I'm going to close this baby now. And I'm going to make my dinner. I'm going to eat dinner with my kid. And then I am going to post the short show tonight. So I, once again, want to say goodnight to everyone. And I'm just going to say this. Do not allow the GOP to take back the House. And do not allow them to control the Senate. Now, I keep hearing about how this is what usually happens. Let's be the first, incidents of breaking that mold, because we can do that. All right. Whatever you got to do, we need to do it. I'll talk to you guys later. Okay, I'm ending meeting for all. And I will see you guys next week.